Hey everyone, and welcome back to my Completionist playthrough of the Baldur's Gate Saga with SCS. So here we are in the lair of the Unseeing Eye. Our objectives here are of course to explore, eliminate some beholders, try to find that other part of the rift device, and finally kill the Unseeing Eye itself. And we're going to get to all of that after a little bit of management. I've left some bolts +1 in there, I'm not going to pick them up. And before we do anything else we need to heal Senashira, and I'm going to give this Ring of Regen to Animan for now. And like I said in the previous episode, now in our arsenal we have some more tools and resources to deal with beholders. Those would include, for example, a protection from magic scroll, which we're not going to use, but it would be very effective for clearing this whole place out. We now have also access to potions of magic protection, and with those we would be able to achieve 100% magic resistance because they do stack, so drinking 2 of them would make us immune to beholder shenanigans. And also we now have access to some spells, like the skeleton warriors that we've talked about before. Senashira now has Spell Shield, which is going to protect her from 1 anti-magic ray, and then even afterwards when she gets affected by anti-magic ray she is still going to be protected for 1 round against magic, so she can throw some attacks, deal some damage and get out of there. And that is going to be a much more realistic plan now that we have Boots of Speed, which are going to make maneuvering around much easier. And also Senashira has this 1 Mislead spell, which we're going to have some fun with. And at the beginning of this whole area there's always a Gauth here to greet us. And because Senashira still has her chaotic commands and she has her Arbane sword, I'm just going to renew some mirror images and go and deal with that Gauth. I think we are also going to give Senashira 1 Oil of Speed for this area.
Yes.
Alright, now we can go. So hello Gauth. Goodbye Gauth. And now, first we're going to explore south to take care of the main group of beholders down there. There's also a group of priests here, but kind of in the center of the whole area, but I don't want to engage them until after the beholders are gone, because I don't want any risk of them like scattering about a little bit and like any beholders joining in on the fight. So here we're going to summon 1 skeleton warrior from Senashira and 1 skeleton warrior from Animan. And we're going to cast Mislead on Senashira. Now what that did is it created this clone, which can move, but it cannot attack and it cannot cast spells. And as long as this clone is active, Senashira is invisible. And although this clone is susceptible to both damage and divination spells that can dispel it, the abusable thing about Mislead is of course that we can leave this clone in some safe place out of reach of any opponents, and they won't even have a chance to do anything about it. So Senashira is going to be basically permanently invisible as long as this clone is active, and that means that even if she casts spells or makes some attacks, she is still going to remain invisible, and those are not going to reveal her. One thing about Mislead is that it doesn't last too long, it's only 1 round per level, so our time is limited, and we're going to have to use this time as effectively as possible to clear out this place. I have summoned these 2 skeleton warriors just to serve as some distractions, because the beholder's crypts are kind of finicky. Even though they don't see invisible, they can still sometimes fire off a ray at some invisible target near them if they don't have anything occupying their attention. So we're just going to send in these skeleton warriors to keep them busy, and also to keep them kind of stationary, because normally if they would be attacked by some invisible force, they would kind of scatter around, they would try to run away, and here of course we want to maximize our damage, and we're going to switch to Condain for that reason, so that we have 5 attacks now. We want to deliver as much damage as possible with Senashira to make use of that limited time from Mislead, and here we can see the telekinesis eye stalk that SCS adds that can knock back the skeleton warriors, but generally they should prove to be pretty sturdy distractions, and their job is to just kind of be there so that Senashira can get some work done. Yeah, they are sometimes going to have the ability to deal some damage themselves, but yeah, generally they're just here to keep the beholders occupied for a while. And yeah, the beholder from this pocket, I think, joins in on the fight. And one of our skeleton warriors died. But it shouldn't be a big problem here. Alright, all of the beholders are gone, now just the Gauths need to be dealt with. And I mentioned these pockets, they're kind of like these areas on the outer edges of the whole lair that we're going to quickly explore with Senashira as well, because there are some lone beholders in there. And since we still have that mislead, let's just quickly go in there and get rid of them. Right, so here's a Gauth. Right, and one more of these rooms remains. Right, with a beholder. Right, cool. And now we can basically explore the place at our leisure. We will not run the risk of any beholders joining our fights. And it seems like, okay, the mislead just now ran out. So pretty well it turned out, time-wise. Here, now we're going to have that fight with the priests. And what we're going to do is just pre-buff kind of lightly. We're going to give our mages some mirror images. We might give Anomen some drop on Holy Might. We might chant. We might bless. But nothing too serious. We're going to give... Well, after these spells go off, we're going to give Senashira this minor globe here.
What is it?
And also I think I'm going to give the Boots of Speed to Kiranai, actually. First attempt to stealth. Alright, and now get the Boots of Speed.
Nothing to it.
So here are the blind priests. And we're kind of going to rush in with Senashira that's protected against most of the stuff that they can throw at her. We kind of take their attention, and then we're going to unleash some spells upon them. And also, I think we might unleash a backstab upon them.
What is it? This will not
Of course, all of their pre-buffs trigger, but they're still going to be susceptible to a lot of stuff. We're going to try and cast some Insect Plague on one of them. This one here. We are going to throw a little Holy Smite in there. And Edwin can actually throw in a web. We haven't used that one in a while. Let's just quickly do one backstab while we can. Boom! So that guy is already dealt with, and let's kind of run away so that she doesn't get webbed. And let's use that Namara silence in there. Okay, now you can switch to your thrown daggers again. Perhaps add some damage from afar. Of course, Senashira is protected against all of their shenanigans against our own web because of that minor globe.
What is it?
Might even throw in one fireball to just kind of soften them up generally. They did summon some stuff. They did summon... I think they have some pretty good summons. They tried to use blindness, but of course it's not going to work. They have some flame strikes, which worked, but our mirror images soaked the hits, it seems. And they also have some skeleton warriors. I think they also have access to aerial servants. But anyway, visibility is kind of limited here.
If it must be done.
Might actually throw in one slow in there. And add some range damage with our other guys as well.
I stand amongst the righteous.
Even Keldorn has this crossbow.
Speak. Will be done. I await you
At your order.
Yes. Yes.
Fall, creature, and feed the earth.
Retreat
Nature,
or
take
fall
the life she gave.
Just this one problematic guy.
What is it?
Decided to be a nuisance and force us to change weapons on Kiranai. Actually, let's have Senashira help her. Alright, just this last guy, it seems. Alright. So all of that is now dealt with. There's also, oh yeah, this pocket here to loot. They generally don't have anything too great, but of course we want to be thorough. Okay, and also we want to loot all these containers now that we have some time. Some minor goodies, although there is a halberd. The how's it called? The one against dragons. Dragon's Bane. Okay, I was about to say Dragon Slayer, but it's Dragon's Bane. Kind of a cool halberd. It's +3, and also deals bonus damage against dragons. Alright. I'm just going to leave these +1 projectiles. I'm just going to keep the +1 bullets.
What is it now?
Speak.
Alright, now the last thing we need to do here. Oh, of course, we need to loot
Yes,
these
will be
priests.
I can hold no more. That item has been dropped.
Oh, that container is full, huh? We need to just get rid of the normal bullets. Sometimes they might still come in handy because of protection from magical weapons, but we don't need that many. And that's pretty much it. There was one guy that died over here. Okay, full plate, and that's going to sell.
What is it?
Alright, and here we're going to have some special tactics, because we are about to encounter the Unseeing Eye itself, and with SCS it is buffed a lot. So let's just think about that a little bit. What we're going to need here. We're going to need another skeleton warrior, and we're going to summon some more fodder.
I am as I would.
We're going to summon that fire elemental from Jaheira.
Yes.
And we're going to have Edwin in his mustard jelly form as well.
What? Yes.
Right, Edwin is kind of going to block this passage over here. Because the Unseeing Eye always appears on, like, kind of on this corner.
Speak. It is
And also what we're going to do is pre-buff Senashira with some stuff.
Point us.
With some serious stuff. Of course, it's all going to be gone once anti-magic strikes, but before it does, she has Chaotic Command still. She's going to have Remove Fear. So she's going to be protected against all that. Okay, Keldorn can handle that weight.
Speak your mind.
We can also like give her some buffs like blesses and whatnot, but generally what we want to do is we're going to give her another set of magic mirror images. We're also going to give her that spell shield.
yes.
Next up we're going to give her, I think, even this globe of invulnerability. And we're going to, whoops,
What is it?
we're going to give her spell immunity to alteration, because that's the spell immunity type that's going to protect her from that flesh to stone. And I think it also protects her from their death ray. I think that also gives you the spell ineffective message. Speaking of,
I hear you well enough.
we just wasted our opportunity to protect her against the Death Ward, but I don't think it's necessary. I don't think it's going to be necessary.
Go bother someone else.
I think that spell immunity to alteration pretty much will ensure her protection against instant death effects. And here we're going to
Yes.
shift Edwin into that mustard jelly. Of course, because of the different tunnels, he can barely move. Although I think he can move a little. Anyway, let's loot the other part of that rift device. Now we're going to have the message that we can, sense its power. And we are going to use it on the Unseeing Eye once it arrives. Alright, here it is. And basically, it's protected by a kind of like a special barrier that makes it pretty much immune to damage. Like, basically it's immune to, I think, a very high enchantment of weapons, and it's also protected from spells. So we are going to use this this ancient device on it. Yeah, it just says that it's protected by spell deflection, but that's a special type of protection. Alright, now that we have dispelled that with our rod, we have expelled its one charge. Now it's going to be badly injured, but now it's going to be... Basically the real fight is going to trigger. With SCS, the Unseeing Eye has actually a lot of spells, different spell triggers, and stuff like that. And here its Chain Contingency procs. It gives it immunity to abjuration and summons 2 Death Tyrants, which are kind of high-level beholders. And I think our Skeleton Warrior is kind of stuck in there, unfortunately. But basically what I want to achieve here by having Senashira over here is that she is protected by that spell shield, and even if they target her with anti-magic ray, she is kind of safe for like around 2 rounds, I guess. So basically before... well, we want to use that time to essentially like deal as much damage, or perhaps even solo the whole thing, before we have to resort to like some AoE spells or something like that. Alright, so I think this Death Tyrant, before it actually is summoned... Okay, actually the Unseeing Eye casts protection from magical weapons. And I don't think it has... Well, it has that spell immunity to abjuration, and Edwin cannot cast, so we're not going to focus on dispelling it, actually, but we're just going to use normal weapons, I guess. But first we're going to kill these Death Tyrants. These Death Tyrants are actually immune to Cloud Kill, whereas the Unseeing Eye isn't. Alright, so our spell shield was dispelled by that anti-magic ray, but it's still okay. Okay, 1 Death Tyrant is down. The Unseeing Eye had a minor sequencer with double web, which we don't really care about. Alright, it caused serious wounds, can deal a little bit of damage, but she still has mirror images, she still has her globe, still has immunity to alteration, she's pretty safe still. Alright, a spell trigger with protection from magical weapons again, and a spell shield, and spell deflection, and the Unseeing Eye triggers. Okay, now the Death Tyrants are gone already, and we're going to try to cut through the protections of this Unseeing Eye with our normal Warhammer, and we'll see how that goes. So far, you know, Senashira is of course immune to these effects, and I'm not sure if the Unseeing Eye actually has anti-magic ray. So now that we have dealt with the Death Tyrants that could provide that effect, Senashira should be pretty fine being protected against different effects. Okay, now we can get through to the Unseeing Eye. And boom! There it is. Okay, cool. I don't think our summons provided much of a distraction, but I wanted them to be there. I wanted to be safer. Better safe than sorry here. And yeah, I'm just going to wait out this web, and yeah, that actually went pretty nicely. So we have killed the Unseeing Eye, and we have spent the power of that rift device, and we're going to give it back to that avatar of that weakened god and actually get some answers. Alright, now we can shift Edwin back to his normal form, and we can get out of here. So the whole lair of the Unseeing Eye has been now cleared out. Now we can switch this here, give you this ring back, and we can give you the throwing dagger.
Yes, this will not take long.
Alright, that's cool. Finally done with beholders for a while. I'm just going to quickly go and talk to Sassar for a little bit.
You have destroyed the creature who has enslaved so many, and for that, I am more grateful than I can say.
Yeah, but, of course he senses that we have the rift device. Of course he's going to remind us that we should give it back.
Speak.
And we are going to do that. I'm just going to quickly teleport over to the temple.
It will be done. Yes, certainly.
Yes?
And their leader here is going to be pretty surprised. You return. Why? Why have you come back here? You have brought back the great device? So of course we said that that we would return it. You lie. You must. There is no hope for us here. It has been ages since any sign of change. Or change. And that age is over. It is simply time for the end. This cannot be. You cannot be the herald of change. It is not possible. I must see for myself. I must hear the word. We all must.
Yes?
So we arrive inside. There is nothing here. There is never anything here but the stench of our hate. So why should he come to you? Do you bother to offer his name in tribute? The name has not been spoken outside of a curse for a generation. There has been no sign, and there has been no point. I have given the sign. What will you do with it? I will. Amaunator, your people call to you. I, Agrutindul, Sun Lord of the Third House, pursuant of your conduct of worship contract, do hereby give my voice to your name. We ask, please, we call to you. We have need of you.
I hear you have suffered, who still suffer. The time is at an end. The letter of the law states that we guard until the end of time. Our time has ended.
Then what is left to do? Nothing. Your task is done. You will all sit by the side of Amaunator in the keep of the eternal sun. The old enemies are gone, and duty is well enough fulfilled. Praise be to the Keeper of Time, that he should let it end for the just.
This is the end of things. Rest your mind in my heart. Rest.
So yeah, happy ending for all of these. And just a word of explanation, Amaunator is basically an ancient god of the sun and of the law. So that's why, you know, that agreement that he mentioned, and that guardian voice that asked us a couple of these riddles here, it also mentioned duty, and that, you know, the passage of time and death may be stayed because of duty, and he also mentioned guarding. So of course that was the agreement, and that's why it was so important, because Amaunator was, you know, the god of the sun and also law and order. So that's why that contract, that agreement was so important, so that they guard that device until the end of time. And Amaunator is kind of like an ancient deity from the Netheril Empire, kind of in the ancient history of the Forgotten Realms. And that's kind of fascinating how that, how Netheril fell. It was, well, I kind of, I like to share that kind of stuff. I really enjoy that kind of stuff. I am a dork, so just bear with me here. And Amaunator is going to tie into this in a second. All is going to become clear. But basically, Netheril fell as a result of a certain, like, very powerful magical war, and one of their archmages, Karsus, attempted to become a god, and attempted to like take the governance over magic from the goddess Mistral, who was the previous incarnation of Mistra, the goddess of magic. But through all of these machinations, basically a catastrophe occurred where all of the magic stopped working for a little while. And that meant that all of the flying cities of the Netherese Empire actually crumbled. All of them except 3. And then Mistral was reincarnated as Mistra, and you know, attempted to gain control over the weave again, and magic in a little, with some little different rules, I guess, started to function again. But basically, how does Amaunator matter here? Basically, the survivors from these 3 Netheril cities kind of blamed Amaunator for not interfering and not stopping that kind of cataclysm of theirs. And he couldn't do anything, of course, bound by, you know, the letter of law, and he had his own portfolio, I guess, of things that he governed. So he couldn't do anything, but a lot of his followers abandoned him, and he basically just slowly became forgotten. And there are different theories as to what happened to him. I'm not sure how, like, canon what happens here in Baldur's Gate 2 is, but that might have been just like a little part of him in that temple that still survived in the minds of these diseased ones. But the thing is that he basically kind of faded away and reappeared in the pantheon of today as Lathander. And it also can be a theory that maybe Lathander is just a different aspect of Amaunator, some kind of a different part of him. But anyway, basically the modern day Lathander is, is kind of like a spiritual successor to Amaunator. And this is not the last place that we will visit that is going to have some connection to Amaunator. That's why I'm kind of elaborating a little bit more about that, because there's going to be more mention of Amaunator a little bit later on. And now, you are a great and wonderful being for what you have done.
You are a great and wonderful being for what you have done. May the gods smile upon you forever for doing this for that creature.
I love that line. You are a great and wonderful being for what you have done. Alright, so now they leave. And one last thing that we have to do is, of course, pay a visit to the Unseeing Eye cult and see how they're doing. Say hi to Gal.
What is it?
Now, unfortunately, we don't have either minor globe or globe on Senashira, which is not so cool, but we don't really need too many buffs here. We are going to actually hold off on that, Edwin. Let's first buff up with some stone skins, because there are going to be some crossbowmen. Yeah, we're going to rest after that, so there's no reason to like hold off on our spells here. You're kind of useless, Jaheira. And let's just have a chant, I guess. And now we're going to haste ourselves. And Senashira is going to get spell immunity to Abjuration, just in case. Okay, and now we can kind of carefully approach.
Come back! The Unseeing Eye has been killed, but not all is lost!
Let us avenge him and make his visions become a reality. Come back, you fools! You, Senashira, you have sinned against the universe itself. We shall destroy you. So, it seems like the cult is in shambles. People are just leaving, escaping, but Gaul still has some of his elite guards faithful to him, and this is the last encounter for this part. So let's actually allow Gaul to have his buffs up. Right, he has some mage buffs, but he is primarily a cleric. He's a cleric mage, of course, but he uses mostly cleric spells, so he has basically improved invisibility, some mirror images, minor globe. Alright, we need to get Kirina in there to dispel all that. And Senashira might throw in a slow. And since you guys hate sight so much, let's actually offer you double glitter dust. Boom! Right, I think... Wow, they actually were exceptional at saving against those glitter dust, it seems. They can be blinded, but wow. At least they got slowed. Some of them got slowed. Right, and Gaul, actually, once we get rid of his mirror images, doesn't have exceptional physical protections. Unfortunately, I didn't pre-buff with chaotic commands, and both Animan and Keldorn got disabled by that greater command. But anyway, it doesn't really matter all that much. Let's just overwhelm Gaul with our physical damage. Right, he recasted Stone Skin, but he goes down anyway. Okay, here, now we want to get rid of that captain, yeah, this guard captain. He's kind of the most dangerous, and now we can just finish them off at our leisure. And I also wanted to haste here, because now as we explore the area, unfortunately we don't have Animan with us, and Keldorn, that would be able to add some damage. There are these other, like, members of the Unseeing Eye that are going to attempt to flee, but of course I don't want to let them. and I want to get some experience in some of their loot before they are gone. Unfortunately, this can be a little problematic because these passages are a little narrow, and we have these like stairs that are going to block like quick passage of our characters. But I think we should be able still to get to a lot of them and kill them before they can flee. Right, cool. Anyone up there? Oh yeah, there is one. There is someone. Basically, as soon as they come into your vision, they are going to attempt to flee, and in a couple of seconds they will disappear. So unfortunately I triggered 3 of them at once here. So we're not going to be able to kill all of them, but at least 2. Okay, cool. How about this one? Ah. Close, but no cigar. Alright, another guy over here. Yeah, that's more like it. We can kind of block them inside the room. Okay, 2 more guys here. Even Edwin can join in on the fun and throw some magic missiles, I guess. Just try to get in there and deliver that damage. Just a quick boom. Alright, one more. Oh man, really? We didn't manage to kill that one. Okay, and I think that's it. That's all of them. Oh, now you wake up, sleepy heads. Anyway, this is going to be it for now, and we're going to loot this place and, you know, check out the what the aftermath of the whole business with the Unseeing Eye cult is in the next episode, where there's no pressure of time. So for now, I thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I'll see you next time.